Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to talk about fermentation in this video and maybe get into photosynthesis, just the start of it at least. So fermentation is a process that uses an organic molecule as a final electron acceptor so that we can regenerate NAD from NADH. This allows the glycolytic pathway to continue. If we don't have NAD, then glycolysis shuts down and then no energy can be produced at all. Fermentation does not use an electron transport system, and it does not produce a lot of ATP. We only get a net gain of about 2 ATP because we utilize 2 ATP in the beginning of the glycolytic pathway and we gain 4 ATP at the end. So that's a net gain of 2 ATP. But this fermentative process is used in multiple areas in human life. So we use fermentation to produce different foods and drinks. We use fermentation in the pharmaceutical companies. And we even use fermentation to help us identify different microbes. And so really quickly, I tried to click to the next slide, but I thought I'll mention E. coli is a facultative anaerobe. What that means, the term facultative anaerobe means that it utilizes oxygen when it's available, but it doesn't need oxygen. It prefers to grow in the presence of oxygen, but it will grow fine without oxygen. So it can use multiple pathways. That's what this is showing. Streptococcus pneumoniae cannot use multiple pathways. It uses fermentation only. So different organisms are going to use different pathways. But in general, all organisms use that glycolytic pathway. So fermentation, like I said, can produce a lot of different end products which are beneficial to us, but it also helps us to identify microbes and can be used in producing foods or other products that we can utilize. So thus far, we've talked about glucose, but we can use other materials to produce ATP. Just like our cells, we use glucose as our primary source of energy, but we can use fats as an alternate energy source to produce ATP. So can microorganisms. So in this case, we can take polysaccharides and break them down into structures that are usable by the cells. They can use lipids in this way. They're going to take the glycerol from a fatty acid, can be converted into dihydroxyacetone phosphate, and this enters the glycolytic pathway. The fatty acids can enter the Krebs cycle directly after they have been oxidized via beta oxidation. And then we can take the proteins, break them down into amino acids, and then deaminate them, so get rid of the nitrates, and we can utilize them in multiple areas of aerobic respiration. I'm looking at the time. I'm going to just quickly tell you a little bit about photosynthesis, and then we'll stop this video and we'll finish it up in another video, okay? So photosynthesis is the production of organic molecules from inorganic carbon. So we take carbon dioxide and we produce glucose or other organic materials. There are multiple organisms that do this. The original photosynthesizers were likely cyanobacteria, and they gave rise to a lot of other organisms that are still photosynthetic today, like plants and algae. So without the cyanobacteria that are photosynthetic, we would not be here because we can't survive in an environment without oxygen. So when we talk about photosynthesis, this is the general equation here. We have carbon dioxide and we have water or some other molecule, depending on if it's aerobic or anaerobic. If this was aerobic, this would be H2O, but if it's anaerobic, this could be H2S, hydrogen sulfide, or some other molecule, or some other compound. We take in light energy and we produce a carbohydrate. We release some waste product. If this is, again, photosynthesis that's aerobic, we might release oxygen. If it is an anaerobic process, we might be releasing sulfur. And so I mentioned that. And we're going to produce typically some water as an end product as well. So, and this is just where I said X indicates water or oxygen or sulfur or other molecules. Photosynthesis can be broken down into two major groups, the light reactions and light independent reactions. And this is just a table that goes into discussing different types of photosynthetic organisms. So we have our oxygenic and then our anoxygenic. So anaerobic bacteria are going to photosynthesize differently than aerobic bacteria. We're going to focus on aerobic bacteria, but I will give you a little bit of information on anaerobic processes as well. So I'm going to stop here and we'll get into our last video, hopefully, in the next segment, okay? Bye.